Right now in Silicon Valley, we're watching a housing market that is completely splitting in two. On one hand, active inventory across San Mateo and Santa Clara counties just surged by a massive 18% in a single month, and entry-level homes are sitting untouched. On another hand, a luxury property in Los Altos just hit the market for $4 million and sold for almost $7 million in a single weekend. Welcome to my spring market update. Today, I'm going to break down the April housing data and expose exactly why this market bifurcation is happening. If you are planning to buy or sell a home in the Bay Area right now, you cannot afford to misread these signals. I'm going to show you the expensive mistakes you will avoid by understanding the brutal realities of our local real estate microclimate, rather than relying on generic national headlines. To explain the bizarre behavior we're seeing at our local open houses, we first have to look at the microeconomic pulse dictating the flow of money. By every traditional textbook, with gross domestic product growing at a solid 2% annualized rate and unemployment sitting at a historically healthy 4.3%, we should be experiencing a booming euphoric spring real estate market across the board. Yet consumer confidence is scraping the bottom of the barrel. Buyers are gripped by anxiety, spooked by surging gas prices, and highly volatile conflicting projections about the future of the artificial intelligence economy. In April, mortgage rates finally stabilized in a narrow band between 6.3 and 6.5%. That stabilization should have brought a relief, but instead it brought tension. Last month, the Federal Reserve decided to keep their benchmark interest rate completely unchanged. This wasn't just a standard policy meeting. It was Chairman Powell's final meeting, and it was highly fractured. We saw 4 regional bank presidents actively dissent. That level of disagreement at the absolute top of our financial system sends a very clear signal to the market. Nobody actually knows what is coming next. And when uncertainty rules the Federal Reserve, it immediately trickles down to the whole U.S. economy. This uncertainty is exactly why consumer confidence is so low. Mid-level tech workers and entry-level buyers are feeling the squeeze of increased living costs, paired with a sudden wave of caution regarding AI-related revenue projections. The euphoric blank check spending phase of the AI boom is facing a reality check. Corporate budgets are tightening, and stock-based compensation, the lifeblood of the Bay Area purchasing power, is suddenly being viewed with a highly critical eye. This dynamic is severely dictating local buyer confidence across the peninsula and the South Bay. The buyers who rely on leverage, those borrowing money at 6.5% to buy a condo or an entry-level home, are paralyzed. They are sitting on their hands, waiting for a clear signal that just isn't coming. Meanwhile, the founders, the executives, and senior professionals with access to equity are moving entirely differently. They are not as sensitive to the mortgage rate levels, and they are about to skew our local housing market in a massive way. Let's dive into the combined multiple service data for San Mateo and Santa Clara counties for the month of April. The median home sale price across all property types, single-family homes, townhomes, and condos, landed at $1,725,000. That represents a 1.5% increase from March, which is a reflection of typical seasonal trends, but it is actually a slight decrease of 0.6% compared to this exact time last year. Now, the sale volume. In April, we saw 1,690 homes changing hands. This is a solid 16% jump month over month, showing that the spring market is technically functioning. However, that volume is only a mere 1% higher than last year. Here is the critical translation. Closed sales only grew by 1%, despite the fact that the number of new listings hitting the market surged by 9% year over year. Because the new listings are aggressively outpacing closed sales, our active inventory is swelling. We ended April with more than 3,400 homes available for sale. That is a massive 18% increase in supply from the last month, since March, and a 6% increase compared to last year. The options for the buyers are multiplying rapidly. But this is where data gets incredibly deceptive. If inventory is piling up, you would expect homes to be sitting on the market for weeks, right? Wrong. For the homes that actually successfully sold, the median time on the market remained at an astonishingly low 10 days. That is virtually unchanged from the 9 days we saw last month and at the same time last year. Average time on the market, on the other hand, grew to 21 days compared with 18 days a year ago. The market is definitely slowing down. How is it mathematically possible for our inventory to surge by 18% while the median days on market stays at only 10 days? The answer is that the top-line median metric is hiding the truth. The homes that are priced flawlessly and presented beautifully are selling in a single weekend. They're the winners, and they keep the median time on market compressed. But the other homes, the not top-choice properties, are getting stuck on the market. They're the ones swelling our active inventory up to over 3,400 units. And make no mistake, a significant portion of this new spring inventory isn't new at all. It is recycled. It is sellers who failed to sell last October, canceled their listings, and relisted in April to reset their days on market clock, trying to trick buyers into thinking their property is a new listing. When we zoom in from the spreadsheets to the actual streets and open houses, the psychology of the market is severely split. We're currently operating in a completely bifurcated environment. The gap between buyers' and sellers' expectations has never been wider, and it is playing out differently depending on the price point and the property type. On one end of the spectrum, entry-level homes, condos, and townhomes are actively struggling. The buyers for these properties are the ones hurt most by 6.5% rates, rising HOA dues, and economic anxiety. Sellers in this category are refusing to accept that their buyer pool is tapped out, resulting in a brutal standoff where inventory just sits. On the other end of the spectrum, the luxury single-family market is completely detached from reality. Turnkey properties in premium neighborhoods are experiencing absolute frenzies. The turnkey premium is real, and the fixer-upper penalty is devastating. Buyers with liquid wealth are paying absurd premiums to avoid dealing with contractors. Let me give you that striking, indisputable example I mentioned earlier. Just last month, a home on Clara Way in Los Altos was listed for just $5,000 under $4 million. After just one weekend on the market, it sold for almost $7 million. That is a $3 million premium over the asking price, paid by the buyer who refused to lose and just blew competition out of the water. If you are a seller right now, this example is your ultimate warning. Do not look at that $7 million Los Altos sale and assume that it's your destiny. You are currently competing against more than 3,400 active listings. If your home is not a flawless, turnkey masterpiece in a top location with the best schools, you will be punished by the market. My brutal advice to you is this: you cannot test aspirational prices right now. With inventory climbing 18% in a single month, overpricing by just a little bit means you will miss the peak spring window entirely. You will become a stale statistic. If you are a buyer, your strategy must be dictated by patience and forensic research. Stop competing against herds of buyers for shiny objects that sell after just one weekend. Your hidden leverage this season is the entry-level market where inventory is piling up. Because sellers are constantly canceling and relisting to hide their failure, you must look at the complete cumulative listing history of each property. When you find a home that actually being struggling to sell for 40 days, disguised as a new listing, your negotiation power is being dramatically amplified. Navigating a market this fractured requires more than just scrolling through generic search on your favorite app. Because Silicon Valley is currently operating as two completely different housing markets, your strategy must be hyper-tailored to your personal financial and lifestyle goals. Whether you are a seller trying to extract maximum equity before the summer, or a buyer trying to uncover hidden leverage without overpaying, there is no cookie-cutter playbook. We need to sit down and have a real unfiltered conversation about your exact needs, your preferences, and your risk tolerance. Reach out to me directly. My contact information is in the description of this video. Let's connect, cut through the headline noise, and build a data-driven strategy designed specifically for you. This is Michael Talis with the Talis team. Protect your capital, and I will see you in the next update.